Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Kanta, chapter number 14, text number 11, text number 12, and text number 13. Sarvadvaresu dehismin prakasa upajayate jnanam yada tada vidyat vivridam sattvam iti utam. The manifestation of the mode of goodness can be experienced when all the gates of the body are illuminated by knowledge. Purport. There are 9 gates in the body. 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, the mouth, the genitals, and the anus. When every gate is illuminated by the symptoms of goodness, it should be understood that one has developed the mode of goodness. In the mode of goodness, one has developed, or one can see things in the right position. One can hear things in the right position. And one can taste things in the right position. One becomes cleansed inside and outside. In every gate, there is a development of the symptoms of happiness, and that is a position of goodness. Lobha pravritti rarambha karmanam asamah spraha rajasi etani jayante vivride bharatarshabha. Translation. O chief of the Bharatas, when there is an increase in the mode of passion, the symptoms of great attachment, fruitive activity, intense endeavor, and uncontrollable desire and hankering develop. Purport. One in the mode of passion is never satisfied with the position he has already acquired. He hankers to increase his position. If he wants to construct a residential house, he tries his best to have a palatial house, as if he would be able to reside in the house eternally. And he develops a great hankering for sense enjoyment, sense gratification. There is no end to sense gratification. He always wants to remain with his family and in his house and to continue the process of sense gratification. There is no cessation of this. All these symptoms should be understood as characteristics of the mode of passion. Aprakasho pravritischa pramado mohayevacha tamasi etani jayante vivride kurunandana. Translation. When there is increase in the mode of ignorance, O son of Kuru, darkness, inertia, madness, and illusion are manifested. Purport. When there is no illumination, knowledge is absent. One in the mode of ignorance does not work by a regulative principle. He wants to act whimsically for no purpose. Even though he has the capacity to work, he makes no endeavor. This is called illusion. Although consciousness is going on, life is inactive. These are the symptoms of one in the mode of ignorance. Om Ajnanatimrandasya Jnananjana Salakayam Chakshuranmilitamena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Vandeham Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Gunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Savadutam Vrijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here the verse number 11, the verse number 12 and verse number 13, Krishna is explaining about the symptoms of a person in goodness and ignorance and passion. All of the symptoms here very clearly and precisely Krishna says, is explaining of this material world. This has been the beginning of the spiritual life. The moment when you start a spiritual life or any sadhaka, the first thing which he does is he offers his obeisances to his guru, who is eye-opener of the sadhaka with the torch of knowledge. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya. Just like the devotee prays to the spiritual master that I was born in the darkness, the darkest ignorance. In this material world, whoever is born is influenced by the three modes. Especially in this Kali Yuga, everyone is born in the darkest ignorance. And by the grace of the spiritual master, he gets the eyes of knowledge to see Krishna. As all we know that soul is Sat Chit and Ananda. Soul is eternal and soul is full of knowledge and full of bliss. That is the very nature of the soul. He has to be happy, he wants to be happy, and that is the nature of the soul. And he is eternal, at the same time full of knowledge. But when it comes to the material world, he gets influenced by the three modes, Karanam Guna Sangasya. And due to these three modes, sometimes he is a nice person, and sometimes he is a bad person, and sometimes he is rich, sometimes he is poor, sometimes he is very happy, and sometimes he is totally in depression. So these things everyone have experience in one's life. Just like me, when I was schooling, my father made me study in the best of the schools in my village, and thinking that I would become very happy, I would be a very knowledgeable person, I would come out in great success and make my life very success. But what I felt from the day I joined the school, when I read this sloka and when I see that how knowledge gives one happiness, and comparatively when I think of those days from these days, it was like what I learned, and for so far like 20 years we went to the school, went to the kindergarten, went to the college, and school, studied under many teachers and many scholars, etc. But not even a single day that I had a realization or experience that I become happy by gathering or sharing the knowledge from which they had or what they taught me. The only happiness which I got is the moment we finished the school, we got out from the school, we felt a big relief. Happy life. No more schools, no more college. I felt like The moment you came out from the school and college, that was like you are really done it, and you are in goodness now. So far, when you go to the school, it was not really like college or really like nothing we learned in the school education. They never taught us self-control. We were studying together with the girls, 20 girls on the other side, 20 boys on this side, and we never know what brahmachari life means. And 20 years, the prime part of the life, everything was over. And we came to know, something like brahmachari life will exist, which means to control the senses, to be pure in words, and to live a pure existence, something like that. We came to know after touching this, coming in touch with a person who is a Bhagavata or someone who is practicing spiritual life. But until that time, until the prime part of that time, and we were in such a depression that when I'm going to get a job, I'm studying this, and we have to get that much marks, and exams. Every 3 months there is an exam that you will be tested. It's total depression. And apart from that, the moment you go to the home, the mom is pressuring you, the father is pressuring you, and then you are the whole night, day, everything is like too much pressure for the children. And then from the very childhood, you have been taught about the future that it is not very good if you don't study. And always there is a hopeless situation that you have to compete with others and you have to get a good marks. Unless you come up as a topper, there is no bright future for you. You won't be able to get money, you won't be able to get a good job, you won't be able to get a good wife, and the life will be miserable. From the very beginning of the life, you have been told, you have been tortured by their instructions, that you felt that, oh God, just take me out from this line of a life. Let me out from this. I don't want ever to go to the school now once again. That's what we had experienced. And after my school education and all, I just went to a share market where I was working as doing a share business and buying the company shares and selling the company shares. It's kind of a gambling. You buy and sell it. The moment you buy and the price is low, and when you find its price goes high, immediately you sell it. It's like kind of a gambling match. And there also I see the same thing. People are running after money and depression, and everyone is educated. We had worked with the scholars and professors and doctors, engineers. Everyone used to come there, and everyone was in depression. Everyone was in money, and no one had an experience of happiness is. Until I met one devotee, very tall devotee from Croatia. I was going to buy something on my way, and then I find a person who is very tall with the saffron robes and shining with a great big smile, and he's distributing one book. The same book has some 10, 15 he was carrying. He was from the West, actually, my god brother. And then I saw him, he was really happy. I could sense that this person is like got a freedom from this world. While living in this world, he got a big freedom that he has nothing to do with anyone. He's ready to share his happiness, and he is happy. And then I just met him, and he just gave this book, Bhagavad Gita. And he said, don't worry, just read this book, you'll become happy. And I have been told about this book when I was in the school, that this book is the religious book of the Hindus. And we never went through this book. For 20 years, we never know a single word what a life means and what a happiness means. Everyone was so much engrossed in ignorance. All the schools, teachers, all the students, everyone was in. The only thing I could see is everyone is under pressure, that they are in fear, and they don't have, even if they get a happiness, they're thinking about the future and fearing about that. They are just unaware of. They don't even have time to relish the happiness which they are having, because they are worried, because they are in depression. So such was the kind of life in this material world. Krishna is telling you, it's total ignorance. I'm giving you the best of the life. Chant and be happy. Take a cow, some small land, which we were all living in those days. My grandfather, my grandmother, they never were in worry. They had 10 children, and they got everyone married, and everyone got grandchildren, everything. They were never worried about the future, etc. They were doing some cultivation, some land, some mountains behind our house, and some palm trees. And we got some monkeys there too. The big-tailed monkeys are coming over and jumping. And we had seen this life of the villagers. The ladies, they wake up in the morning, they go to the field, they do their job, they churn the butter and do some field work, and they're happy. And there is no question of knowing about the divorce. They don't even know what it means. Even my mom, until she come into the city, she doesn't know what it means. Divorce, what it means. Husband and wife getting separated. There's no question. There's no question. That doesn't exist. The concept doesn't exist in their life. And so I felt like, what a life is that? That was totally in goodness, and people were relishing happiness. And they were not too much into greed. They will produce things what they want. And they live with that, and they have the bullock carts and stuff like that. They use it. And they were living a very normal, simple life. And only we learned the modern education, their children's children. And the moment we started learning about this, from the very day we are in depression, we felt like, I felt sometimes, why I should waste my life 20 plus years in the schools, good for nothing. Just spend my money and spend my time and the energy just for nothing. And just spend my prime time in that, where I'm supposed to be learning something which is supposed to elevate me, and something which I learned which degraded me for the lifetime. And fortunately, it's a blessing of a devotee that I came. Otherwise, I would have been in that time in kind of a life for eternity. There's no question of coming out from that, because there was no concept that we can think about some life like this. We can think about it. And unless you have really a knowledge kind of Bhagavad Gita. And that devotee gave me a book called Science of Self-Realization. Still I have the experience that the moment I read the Science of, that's the first book which I read in my life, in the beginning of my spiritual. Just by reading the first chapter and the second chapter, just by reading that I started getting a hope. I thought, of course, there must be a next life, there must be reincarnation, there is soul, and it started giving knowledge, and it started giving me hope that there is some hope that you can be happy in this life, because what we saw is only the fights, only violence, and everyone is just pulling each other for competing each other for being happy, and greed, attachment. This is the only thing which was visible to our eyes. Only passion and only ignorance. Apart from this, nothing was existing in those lives. Even now, if you go to the school age. But when I read, the moment I read this book, I can see it was just like, it was my eyes getting open, and I could see some future. Oh, there is a future for us, which it can save us, which makes us happy. At least, and then slowly, gradually, I can go into the subject matter. Then it gave me a confidence, which I never got in any other books, in modern mundane subject matters, which we spend hours and hours, tons of hours we spend in reading those mundane subject matter. We never reached a second, that we never reached a happiness by reading those modern educating books, the education which we learn from. But this one book, just by learning a few pages, is giving us some inner strength that, don't worry. Why you worry? Because immediately you get the strength that you can just tell your mind, don't be depressed. Just don't worry. Don't be in depression. There's nothing like that you have to be in depression. Don't be in anxiety. Just don't be in anxiety. Just giving us a hope and giving us a confidence. And then apart from all those things, be a devotee. What is a big deal? If you are not successful in material life, not a big deal. Just better to be a failure in the material life than being a part of a material life and becoming success. Because neither you are happy nor anyone connected with you are happy. It's just a total failure. There's no question of becoming happy. That one thing was very, very much clear. Then I got an opportunity. This is the one and only chance that you can end up the life, this material education. I was just looking for that moment. Oh God, when the day will come, we will join you. We become your devotees. Which was not like that. The praise was not like that. But from inside, that was the thing which we wanted to say. But we could say from that day when we started reading that's how the prayers has to be. We should go back to the spiritual world and join Krishna. There's no point in being here in this material world and competing with each other and trying to be you became a boss or you pull someone who became a boss. There's no point in doing all these things. Just a waste of time. And this is the thing which Krishna is explaining here. In this material world, there is one hope, which is a devotees association. And also here Krishna says, knowledge illuminates your life. Because there are a lot of glorious in the scriptures which it speaks about the knowledge. And knowledge makes one stronger. And knowledge gives you power. And not only that, a learned person is honored all over the world. Plus, a knowledgeable person can save himself and save others. These two things. He can save himself, either someone is getting associated with him or not. At least he can save himself, and also he can save others. And even we see in the spiritual movement, after all we understand that mode of goodness, it's like a plane which you can fly to the transcendence. But still you can see that even in the devotees community, the passion and ignorance, devotees are getting stuck with. The moment when they get a position, when they get an opportunity to become a leader, they get influenced. Still they get influenced by mode of passion and mode of ignorance. And after all, the spiritual movement, which is supposed to be transcendental, at least the people who are here are supposed to be in goodness, they are influenced by the mode of passion and ignorance, and due to that a lot of problems. The cause of the problems is only one thing: it's the passion, either passion or ignorance. And there is fights, and there are politics, and there is arguments, and you want to be a boss and I want to be a boss. And behind these things, there is only one thing exists: either you are passionate under the mode of passion, or otherwise you are under the mode of ignorance. That these two modes is stopping your spiritual advancement. Just the block. This is the stumbling block which stops you from advancing in spiritual life. Even after knowing everything, that you have an opportunity, you have a chance that whether to choose. You want to go back home, back to God, and we want to be a Krishna conscious or not. And we see just in scriptures they have explained there are 6 qualities which separates men from animal. And that is, one is vidya, knowledge. And second thing is tapasya, is austerity. The third thing is dana, the person is charitable. And fourth thing is jnana. After knowledge, you get a realization. You become realized knowledge. It is called jnana. And fifth thing is called shila, which means character. When you get knowledge, then you get realized knowledge, then you build up the character. Then after there is qualities, which is dharma, which is called service to God. These 6 qualities, if any human is missing, and for sure he must be having only those qualities of an animal, or we can say either he should be in passion or he should be in ignorance. he must be polluted by these two things. If he is not developing these 6 qualities, he has to be otherwise. Right? Here mode of goodness, especially we speak about the Brahmanas, who generally they exhibit the qualities of goodness, which are in Bhagavad, it speaks about the Brahmanas, like they speak truthful, they're truthful, they control the senses, they undergo austerities, penances, freed from jealousy, intelligent, tolerant, no enemies, charitable, well versed in Sattvic studies, and apart from that, they observe vows. And this is in goodness, the qualities are in goodness. When you say goodness, some kind of dharma has to be involved. He has to be dharmic. And when you say dharmic, dharma, it gives you happiness. When you say someone is happy, just like Krishna also speaks about 3 kinds of happiness: happiness in goodness, happiness in ignorance, and passion. But when you speak about the goodness, happiness which comes out from goodness, which is out of knowledge, dharma has to be involved. Any person is in goodness, he must be dharmic activity has to be involved. That makes him happy. Plus, he must be a sinless person. A person in goodness cannot commit sins. And dharma, because some kind of dharma is involved, he is illuminated. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his translation of this sloka, 11th sloka, he explains, for the word uta, which means happiness comes from the soul. That which happiness which he experiences is not from the senses. Because of his knowledge, he hears. Vivridam, Vidyat. He explains that person, he hears and he sees things. He hears as it is, just like here in the top. The Prabhupada explains, one can hear things in the right position, which means, and also one can see things in the right position, which he can see this material world. Just like when I was a schooling kid, I could see that it's suffering. This kind of education is suffering. No children are happy. You are neither giving a hope to them. Everyone is saying, if you don't study, you go to the slaughterhouse. It's like do or die. There is no hope for a person who is illiterate, nor for the person who is a mediocre. The only hope for the person is a topper. And what about others? For sure, the toppers are not everyone. There has to be some low class, there has to be a mediocre, etc. Just like the person is in the goodness, he sees things as it is means. He understands, but this is misery and this is happiness. And these both things, how it comes and how it ends, and there is which is temporary and which is permanent, these things he could see clearly. And hearing, he also hears Shastra. From there he gets happiness, that he is illuminated, he gets confidence, he becomes hope, there is a hope for him, and he becomes detached. He started developing those good qualities, like he started becoming charitable, and also he becomes dharmic. Because here it explains one of the quality is service to God, which differs a human from animal. These 6 things you don't find in any animals. You may find eating, sleeping, mating, defending, plus they are super intelligent than human beings, which you can say the eagles, or what do you call, they can see, they have a good sight than a human being, or the elephants, they are more stronger than a human being, or lions are more powerful than a human being. The elephants and the animals may differ in the strength, the bodily strength, when compared to human beings. But these 6 qualities which really makes a difference from a human being to animals. If you go out and find anyone has this, you can for sure, on the basis of Shastra, you can tell him that you are a human. And you can boldly say that. And if anyone lacks in these things, these 6 things, his knowledge, and especially the knowledge, character, and dharma, etc., And for sure you can tell you're no different from animal, because the qualities within you and the qualities within animals is all the same. So here further, Krishna explains, when you say one can hear things as in the right position, means when he hears a shastra, he thinks about that, he contemplates, and then he introspects. That's his mode of goodness. He's peaceful and he can think of it, he can contemplate, and not only that, he gets realizations. And from there, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that happiness which he gets from hearing, that happiness is not from the senses. That happiness is directly coming from the soul. It's just an indication. It's giving a glimpse of happiness. It is just this is the beginning. And further, one can get fixed in that, and then he can go ahead. And then also Krishna in the 18th chapter, he speaks about the mode of goodness. He says, in the mode of goodness, one's intelligence becomes purified. And not only that, he becomes a controller of the mind, which he doesn't do when he is in passion and ignorance. But a person in the mode of goodness, his intelligence purifies, plus he controls the mind. He becomes a controller of the mind and not attached to the objects of the sense gratification. And plus he can become free from attachment and hatred, and he wants to be in the seclusion, and more he tries to become completely free from false ego. Completely free from false ego. He tries to be that. And from there, and further, the next sloka 18.54, he explains, from that situation, if he can just become steady, if he goes on like that with the dharma, with the service to the God, and etc., and eventually he can just raise up to the level of pure goodness. That's why he says, Mam Chiyo Vibhicharena Bhakti Yogena Sevata Sagunan Samatitedan Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. And also Srila Jiva Goswami explains in his commentary in the verse that the material god of goodness does not award perfect knowledge about the absolute truth. He quotes from Srimad Bhagavatam, proving that the many great demigods, even many great demigods, also in the mode of goodness. For example, like Brahma, Indra, Varuna, Chandra, etc., could not understand the transcendental personality of Lord Krishna. But in the mode of material goodness, one becomes pious, religious, aware of the higher spiritual nature. He becomes aware of all those things. And on the spiritual platform of purified goodness, however, one establishes direct loving relationship. From there it starts, just like the previous sloka I just quoted from Bhagavad Gita 18th chapter. He becomes, once you are established, once you rise above the guna of goodness, then your devotional service is starting. That's the beginning of a devotional service. And also in the mode of goodness, one can understand what this world is and what God is, what is his relationship is. And apart from all those things, in mode of goodness, one can think of nice poetry, his music, science, analytical studies, etc., and search for the absolute. And these things are very much in goodness. He becomes very favorable for his devotional life. Also, Prabhupada speaks about the mode of goodness, and if he thinks that he is happy, he can see in the person in his mode of goodness, he can think that if anyone thinks that he is happy, he can become happy in this material world, that he is a fool. This realization he will get it. The person in the mode of goodness. If anyone thinks that he can become happy in this material world, he is a fool. He becomes fixed in that, because he's seeing things as it is. He's hearing things, and he knows it. And some other things like which I wanted to share with you is Yeah. Also in the Mahabharata, in the Yaksha, he starts speaking to Maharaj Yudhishthira. He raises question, and also he wants to, not exactly he wants to check it, but he wants to take association of Yudhishthira, plus he wants to take some knowledge. He starts speaking to Maharaj Yudhishthira and asking questions. He asked about, he asked the Yaksha, started asking, raising questions to Maharaj Yudhishthira. He starts asking, what is that by renouncing makes a man dear to others? What is that? By renouncing makes a man dear to others. And he has another question. What is it which, if given up, never leads to misery? If something you give up, then after that you will never be in misery. Yeah. And third question he asks, what is it which, if given up, never leads to misery? Misery. What is it if renounce leads to wealth? And what is it which, if renounce leads to happiness? And then Maharaj Yudhishthira starts speaking. He says, giving up pride makes one dear to others. If one can become prideless. Krishna also speaks about that in 13th chapter. Adambitvam, amanitvam. He speaks about knowledge means vidyadhyadati vinayam. The first thing is you become a humble person. If you are a knowledgeable person, that leads you to humility. For sure, he becomes humble because he knows he is not a controller, and he's having a fragile material body that anytime it breaks down, he thinks that he is stronger biceps and have a big chest and strong bones and muscles, but it's so fragile that any moment your body becomes can snap down, or you become diseased, etc. These realizations he got. Due to that, he's vidya dadati vinayam. That person becomes humble. That person is a knowledgeable person. And he speaks about giving up pride. If you want to be dear to someone, you become prideless, which is an amazing quality. And that Krishna speaks about, that's the second quality of a person who is in knowledge. Humility, and then he becomes prideless. He doesn't take pride in anything. We see in the Navahusa's case, he became the king of heaven. He was so pious, and he was so religious, and so much knowledge, etc., etc. But King Navahusa was a bit agitated by the mode of passion, that he started becoming proud, that he wanted to be taken by the Brahma Rishis in the palanquin. He ordered the Brahma Rishis, hey you, I am the king of heaven now. I did so much piety, and I am so much religious, I am so much truthful, I am so much honest, I have all kinds of good qualities, that he became a king of the heaven. And he got contaminated, or we can say, due to not being supported by the devotional service. For sure, the kind of person, you will be influenced by mode of passion and ignorance, which gives the strength for you to maintain, to be in goodness. The moment you are not in devotional life, you lose the strength. So for sure, he is not performing any devotional service. So he got influenced by the mode of passion and ignorance. He started ordering the Brahma Rishis, and to tell them, take me in the palanquin. And he was served by thousands of Brahma Rishis. And he was a king of Indra, in Indra's position. And he was telling the Brahma Rishis to take in the palanquin to move. I want to go to meet Urvasi, wife of Indra. And before that, he was telling, I should be carried by the Brahma Rishis. I will sit in the palanquin, they will carry me. And then in the front was King Agastya, the Muni, Rishi Agastya, and he was handicapped. He cannot walk properly. So he also, out of humility, and Brahmanas for sure, they are prideless. They are humble, and they started carrying him, and the Brahma Rishis. And he could see the palanquin is not faster, and every time it's like nodding up and down. The palanquin is shaking in the front and then back and forth, and then he felt like he was not comfortable. And then he took his leg, and then he nodded on his back of King Agastya, that telling, Sarpa, Sarpa, go fast. And he was kicking him with his leg, and he was telling, go faster, I should go and meet her. And then Brahma Rishi, they put on the palanquin. And then they started telling him, you, king, so proud that you forgot what is dharma. You forgot to be self-disciplined. You forgot the obedience for your superiors. Because in Mahabharata it says, the moment you criticize your seniors, your lifetime is decreased. The moment you offend your superiors, and you lose all your wealth, you lose all your realizations, all knowledge is finished. You are as good as a dog. You become like a dog. So he was so proud, King Nahusa, and he was kicking Agastya, and he cursed him, Sarpa, Sarpa. You want to go as fast as a snake? You become a snake. Brahma Rishi cursed him. And then he was a pious, he was a religious person, he was dharmic, he was everything. He was thousands and thousands of years, he was gathering all the punya to become a king of Indra. But in a second, in a few moments or in a seconds, that he lost everything. Cursed by the King Agastya, you become a snake in this material world. And then he has to become a snake. And of course in Mahabharata you get the story that that snake catches Bhima, and there also Yudhishthira goes and to save his brother, and he has to beg pardon from the snake that what offense he has committed, we should free him. And then Agastya said that when Yudhishthira answers all your questions right, then you may be free from all your offenses, and then you may again regain your position back. So the point which I wanted to make is, though you may be in goodness, though you may be a religious person, but when you are not backed up or supported by devotional service or some or devotees or in the association, for sure you will become influenced by the mode, and then you can lose everything, and once again you become a mouse in this material world. Just like I would like to finish it by quoting first canto Bhagavatam verse, where Narada Muni is speaking to Vyasadeva. He speaks about his realization when he met those sadhus, the saints of the Bhakti Vedantas. He is telling that Tatra Maham Nakatam Pragayatam Anugrahena Navaham Manohara Tadradya Me Nupadam Vi Navataha Priya Ramasya Angamabhavat Ruchi. He was telling to Vyasadeva, oh Vyasadeva, in that association and by the mercy of those great Vedantists, I could hear them describe the activities of Krishna. Thus, in listening attentively, my taste for hearing the personality of God had increased at every step. He was speaking about how he got into attachment with Krishna. With the person, in what association, he was speaking about the association and what is the result of those. And in the second verse, he speaks about the same Bhakti Vedantas. He speaks that in those during two seasons, the rainy season and the autumn, I had the opportunity to hear these great souled sages constantly chant the unadulterated glories of the Lord Hari. As the flow of my devotional service began, the covering of the modes of passion and ignorance just vanished. It's a very easy way that one can just get out of passion and ignorance just by hearing the devotees in the Krishna Katha Also, Satam Prasangam. Lord Kapila speaks to Devagati. Satam Prasangam Mama Virya Samvido Bhavanti Karmarashayaha Kataha. Sorry, it's missing it. Oh yeah, here. In the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and to the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation. Thereafter he is freed and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin. That is bhava and prema. The person can develop a real bhava and prema from this kind of association, and from the mode of goodness it becomes very easier. It's like a highway. When you go in a highway, you can go in a super fast. Just like when you want to go to Delhi, take Yamuna Express. Until you reach there, it's a struggle. The moment you reach, it goes in 160, 200, 250, no problem. In 1 hour, you just reach, isn't it? Similarly, like in the mode of goodness, it's like a high-speed highway. You just move faster because 90% of the anarthas is almost already removed once you come in the mode of goodness. Also, Srila Prabhupada speaks about the advancement in Krishna consciousness in one of the letter to his disciple named Bhargava. He speaks as he writes that our advancement in Krishna consciousness is made possible in two ways. By knowledge and by renunciation, one becomes greatly advanced in spiritual life. Knowledge means jnana and renunciation means tyaga, tapasya. The more we become renounced from this material world, the more we advance in Krishna consciousness. But we are only able to make such sacrifices and perform tapasya if we have got knowledge. And further Prabhupada writes that the first thing is to become knowledgeable in Krishna consciousness. Then the tapasya or voluntary life of austerity will result automatically. So I am requesting all of my students, all my disciples, to read my books very seriously, every day, without fail. In this way, if your mind becomes absorbed at least 2 hours daily in the transcendental subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita and other books, then very easily you will make your advancement in Krishna consciousness. This is a letter from Srila Prabhupada to his disciple Bhargava in Los Angeles, June 13, 1972. I think I should stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Somewhere in the middle of the lecture you mentioned 6 items.
Oh yeah.
To make a
Human being.
But before that, I couldn't catch. There were two things that would stop someone, and I couldn't even understand from what. Do you remember?
From you mean what source? What is the source of this?
There were 2 items. There were 2 things which would stop you. I presume you were saying from elevation. I don't know what. I
First thing is it speaks about the knowledge. Second, tapasya, austerity, which means tapasya means brahmacharya life.
Before you mentioned, there were 6 items you were mentioning, and you would do well because those are what distinguish human beings. But before you mentioned those, you were talking about 2 things will always stop you. And I couldn't understand. Does anybody remember what it was?
These are from basically Mata is asking about the question answer session, you used to answering the questions about those.
I mean, Yudhishthira's questions? Yudhishthira's questions?
Yeah. They were the 4 things and 2 of them I think Mata did not understand.
Oh, just I will repeat it once more. Yeah.